and welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss mystical works of literature and how they relate to recovery. We hope you enjoy today's podcast episode.
Hello, this is Buddy C. Welcome to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. Today we have Kate and Lori and Brian and Drew and Lou. Good to have everyone. We are back in Thomas Merton's interpretation of the Chuang Tzu, talking about when knowledge went north, starting on page 118. What we do in this podcast, if you're new, we talk about how Taoist thought and other mystic literature, we could say, how it relates to our 12-step recovery, and related as in how it personally resonates with us. We don't get into philosophy, any of those things. We stay with our experience. Before we get into the conversation, we like to talk about two things: one, a resource, and two, a synchronistic moment. The resource today is the Tao of Our Understanding private Facebook group. You can find it by just searching in Facebook for Tao of Our Understanding, and our private group will pop up. Only members within the group can see who you are. No one outside the group can see that you're a member of the group. In this group, I publish a video every week. That's the only place the video goes, by the way, of the meeting. Even in YouTube, just the audio goes up. If there's any discussion about the topic, and we can also share other things related to spirituality that we enjoy that speaks to us. That was my goal for doing the group. You're invited to join if you'd like. Secondly, we have a synchronistic moment most weeks, and this week Drew has our moment.
Inspired by Brian mentioning last week that not all synchronistic moments have to be positive. This is definitely an example of the opposite of that. I've mentioned that I've got a chronic pain issue that flares up every now and then, and some flare-ups are worse than others. I hadn't had a flare-up, a debilitating one, for nearly a year. That's the longest in, probably 15 years that I've gone without a just debilitating one. And a couple of weeks ago, my wife, we were playing pickleball and she injured her back. She was in the debilitating spot that I was usually in. She was the one on the couch 24 hours a day, ice pack under her, using heat, that sort of thing, and just unable to do anything. I was taking care of everything and asking her if I could get anything for all that. But I was definitely doing it with some resentment and frustration, and I'm working a full-time job and commuting, and now I have to do all the cooking, all the cleaning, just me. Just not treating her with as much kindness and compassion as I should have. And I knew it. I didn't like how I was acting and how I was handling it mentally. And she got better. The next day, I had a debilitating flare-up for the first time in nearly a year. So now I was the one immobile and in pain, and she treated me way better over the last week than I treated her. And I was very thankful for her, and just really good, kind of ashamed of myself for how selfish I'd been and how I hadn't treated her with as much kindness and compassion as she was treating me. One of those instances where the universe reminds me, this is how you treat somebody who's in pain and needs help, not the way you've been treating her. That was a timely lesson that I learned this past week.
Thanks, Drew. I hate it when I do things like that. A lot of times when we hear a story, especially someone telling their story, that's when I see it more. People talk about God doing for them, and it's always all these good things that have happened. Got saved this money, got this deal, whatever it is. But can we accept that things that might not be what we would think of as good oh, I lost money on that car I bought. That was God doing for me. Was it? Could have been. If everything is the will of God for me, it's either all or nothing, in my opinion. Am I allowing myself, if I believe that, I don't even have to believe that God's in charge as in pulling the strings. I can look at this present moment and say, okay, this is the only moment I've got. Why should I judge it as being better or worse? It just is. So, especially if you feel that God's orchestrating things for you, if that's the way you come at it, is He not orchestrating the bad things as what we think of, perceive bad things as well? Brian?
When you mentioned the synchronistic moment, I got a friend of mine I talk to about every morning and works a great program and good guy. And anyway, sent him a text. I never heard back from him. About an hour later, he said, "Man, I walked out of the house this morning and I bumped my cup of coffee and it spilled all over me, all over the patio. So I had to change my clothes and I even had to brew more coffee." And immediately I thought, I wonder if that was him being saved for something. I never did ask you, but I started to say, man, you didn't pass a car wreck or anything like that on the way to work. Or I was thinking about the Mr. Magoo stuff. I need to mention that to him. But it's funny how we look at things differently nowadays.
Thank you for everything
I have no complaint.
whatsoever.
That's it.
When I realized it was all part of the way, not just the good things as reward and the bad things as punishment. In my opinion, the good and bad. That brought another level of freedom I did not have before. Took some of the pressure off. We were talking about practicing last week. As I listened to that when I was editing this week, I was thinking about how valuable that attitude of practice is. Kate?
I bought a used car recently from a guy, and it was like a wheeler and dealer guy, and he was trying to cut corners and do things this way and that way. And when we came to the end of the process, he was trying to get me to agree to pretending he sold me the car for like a really low price for some reason on his end. And it was really awkward for me because usually I'm very agreeable with people and stuff, but I had to say no. I would really prefer if you wrote down the real price I paid for you on this document. And he was like, no, you're going to have to pay taxes on it then, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, we're going to be honest here because I live an honest lifestyle. And I had to say that to him, and it was really uncomfortable. It was like practicing being assertive. And he did it. He wrote down the correct amount that I paid, and I went and paid the correct taxes that I owed. But it was really uncomfortable having to practice that just insistence on being honest with someone who didn't want to. But it was really good practice for me in my life to practice something like that. That's what we were talking about, reminded me of.
Thank you, Kate.
That's practicing these principles in all our affairs.
Or at least some of them, Brian.
Some of them, yeah, for the most part, except the really bad ones.
The times I don't practice, it just slips up on me all of a sudden. And it's almost like I know what I'm doing, but I really see it in hindsight. Oh, crap. Why did I do that? It's that hindsight vision again. But I know it's just practice. So I go at it again. All right. Our story for today, When Knowledge Went North. And Drew, I think you're going to read all the way through it, and then we will go back to the beginning and talk paragraph by paragraph.
When knowledge went north. Knowledge wandered north, looking for Tao over the dark sea and up the invisible mountain. There on the mountain he met Non-Doing, the speechless one. He inquired, "Please inform me, sir, by what system of thought and what technique of meditation I can apprehend Tao? By what renunciation or what solitary retirement may I rest in Tao? Where must I start? What road must I follow to reach Tao?" Such were his three questions. Non-Doing, the speechless one, made no reply. Not only that, he did not even know how to reply. Knowledge swung south to the bright sea and climbed the luminous mountain called Doubt's End. Here he met act on impulse, the inspired prophet, and asked the same questions. Ah, cried the inspired one, I have the answers and I will reveal them. But just as he was about to tell everything, he forgot all he had in mind. Knowledge got no reply. So Knowledge went at last to the palace of Emperor T and asked his questions of T. T replied, to exercise no thought and follow no way of meditation is the first step toward understanding Tao. To dwell nowhere and rest in nothing is the first step toward resting in Tao. To start from nowhere and follow no road is the first step toward attaining Tao. Knowledge replied, you know this, and now I know it, but the other two, they did not know it. What about that? Who is right? He replied, only non-doing, the speechless one, was perfectly right. He did not know. Act on impulse, the inspired prophet, only seemed right because he had forgotten. As for us, we come nowhere near being right, since we have the answers. For he who knows does not speak, he who speaks does not know, and the wise man gives instruction without the use of speech. This story got back to Act on Impulse, who agreed with T's way of putting it. It is not reported that non-doing ever heard of the matter or made any comment.
Thank you, Drew. Any comments before we go back and start from the beginning?
Some of these stories are meant to be funny, right? Like
Yes.
he's having fun with us.
Yes.
Okay.
And you hear that in the Chuang Tzu,
Yeah.
Kate, much more so than you, of course, hear in the Tao Te Ching or the Wen Tzu. So yes, that's true. But it really does draw out the three approaches, more or less, because his questions are pointing to really three questions. First, understanding. Two, resting. And three, attaining. But we'll get to that. Let me start at the first. Knowledge wandered north. Okay, so is this head knowledge or heart knowledge? Is this book understanding or intuitive understanding? Is this experiential understanding or philosophy-based understanding? See, those are two totally different things. I'm going to just say knowledge as a whole, maybe more of, let's just go with intuitive knowledge because we know that's the path. Let's just start there and see. So he's after intuitive knowledge. Let's say that because that's, for me, that's what I would seek is intuitive knowledge. Anyone got a different take on that?
Maybe a little bit more organized because he's looking for a system of thought.
Yeah, I think that's the point of it is applying a system of thought to intuition is not really the way to go about it.
And relating it personally, when I went to Al-Anon, for our first meeting, I went there for knowledge. And these people know what the answer is, and I'm going to go and find that answer from them. Got there, and my new intuitive knowledge kicked in, which was, I'm not going to find any answers, but this seems like a good place to be.
But isn't there some intuitive knowledge is not without, does not lack organization, or it doesn't, in my thinking. Even my intuitive knowledge or me seeking an intuitive answer has some structure to it. Lou?
I think the text bears that out too, but he's not going to a library. He's not going to a wise one. He's not going back to Holy Scripture. He's going to the invisible mountain. The invisible mountain's a little bit different than logical knowledge seeking. You don't use, that's not usually where people go. So there's some intuition there that he's looking in more appropriate places.
Thank you, Lou. Hey?
I also think, like, how many times in my life have I wanted intuitive knowledge but tried to apply some kind of system to get it? If I can just do A, B, C, and D, then I will have the answer to the universe.
The formula.
It's impossible.
I think it also speaks to the folly of trying to get intuitive knowledge from an outside source. He keeps seeking others' intuitive knowledge. You've got the intuitive knowledge. You don't need to seek it from anybody else.
Just in terms of the direction, north may be a clue. In Native American medicine wheel philosophy, north is the ending, the wise one, the old crone. So just a thought that was the journey. He's going north for whatever knowledge he finds.
Thank you, Lori. If I have a situation in life that feel I need some direction, there is a system. I systematically do some things. I may meditate. I may journal about the situation. I may even work the steps on the situation to see if I have any fear that's raising its head that I may need to surrender, maybe some amends I need to make that I've overlooked. And non-doing the speechless one, he wandered north, knowledge wandered north, looking for the Tao. So he is looking for the Tao. Over the dark sea, up the invisible mountain, there on the mountain, he met non-doing, the nameless one. He inquired, "Please inform me, sir, by what system of thought and what technique of meditation I can comprehend Tao? By what renunciation or what solitary retirement may I rest in Tao? Where must I start? What road must I follow to reach Tao?" Such were the three questions. Non-doing, the speechless one, made no reply. Not only that, he did not even know how to reply. So knowledge is at a loss. He was looking for the formula.
Buddy, to me, that solitary retirement and then non-doing, the speechless one made no reply. To me, that speaks to the pause, like the pause that we talk about in here, the pause in the big book. When I'm agitated or doubtful, agitated in all caps.
Now he said not doing, not knowing. I just saw that. Big difference between not knowing and not doing. Huh. Okay, then it says knowledge went south. Knowledge is intent on finding the answer, right? I didn't find it in this book. Let me look in another. I didn't like that internet answer. Let me ask the question a little different way and get another answer. So he swung south to the bright sea and climbed the luminous mountain called Doubt's End. Knowledge has found the end of doubt, right where knowledge wants to be. And it's luminous.
So last time it was an invisible mountain, and this time it's a luminous mountain.
That's good. Thank you, Kate. It's luminous but shows nothing, right? This mountain has a name called Doubt's End. So he says, I'm in the right place. Here he met Act on Impulse, the inspired prophet. Inspired. And he asked the same question. Cried the inspired one, I have the answers, and I will reveal them. But just as he was about to tell everything, he forgot all he had in mind. So knowledge got no reply. Act on impulse. So the one that acts on impulse, the inspired prophet, thought he had the answers. But when it came time, he couldn't even tell the answers he thought he had, right? He lost his thought, it looks like. He forgot everything he had in mind. Okay, so knowledge got no reply, so knowledge starts looking elsewhere. Now he goes to the place of Emperor T and asked his question to T, and T replied, to exercise no thought and follow no way of meditation is the first step toward understanding Tao. I'll read all three and we'll come back. To dwell nowhere and rest in nothing is the first step of resting, toward resting in Tao. To start from nowhere and follow no road is the first step toward attaining Tao. Notice all these are first steps, not the destination, so to speak. Of course, when you start in this direction, you realize there is no destination to attain. Maybe follow no way of meditation is just to meditate. That meditation is not the solution, but meditation may till the ground so the solution can grow and rise on its own. The way I exercise no thought or am not led away by my thoughts like act on impulse is for me is through meditation. Meditation is the way that comes about for me. Michael Singer says that unless we're thinking those thoughts, they're not real. And that may be true. If I'm not thinking the thought, it has no bearing on me in any way. And he's saying exercise no thought, no acting on impulse. That's the first step toward understanding Tao. Dwelling nowhere and resting in nothing. Resting in nothing is the first step toward resting in Tao. Kate?
I feel like this is the conversation that he had with act on impulse, where act on impulse just forgets everything. I think that's very relatable. And you feel like you're on the tip of understanding it, and then it just goes. And you just what? And you just can't quite get there. I can relate to that a lot. And these instructions, to me, it makes me think. I guess we're not supposed to be thinking. We're supposed to be exercising no thought and following no way of meditation, dwelling nowhere. It makes me think Tao is we're already in it. So making all this effort to get there, get into it, think about it, overthink. We're trying to so hard to get into something that we're already in. That's what is coming to me from this.
Thanks, Kate. I'm with you. I think that the idea of no thought is not to be carried off by our incessant thinking, not that we're not to have thought, or we having thoughts or thoughts having us. One Zen teacher I heard said, it's okay to have, you're going to have thoughts, but don't take them to tea. Ah, okay. That makes sense. And no way of meditation may be talking about, don't think there's a magic formula, and if you get the formula, then you'll have the answer, because it's not about formulas. It's like the Zen teacher who went and meditated 10 years in the cave. After 10 years, he came down to the village, and there was a bridge that only one person could cross either way at a time across the creek there going into the village. There was a farmer bringing a crate from the other side, and they got there at the same time. And the farmer proceeded, and he proceeded. He was the teacher. The farmer should get out of his way. So when they got closer together, it knocked the teacher off the bridge, right? And he said, even before I get into town, I'm already having conflict. I thought my 10 years meditation would take care of this. I got one of my most regrettable fights with my ex-wife the next day after I got back from a retreat, my first retreat.
I think this skips back to the first thing we were reading about was having no system of thought that's going to help your understanding, like having no system of meditation or
no magic formula.
yeah, that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, no magic formula.
It goes back to the no system of understanding from the first part.
It would be the same as me continue to do what spiritual practices speak to me, whether it has formal meditation or not. And then me meeting someone whom I liked what they said. I wanted what they had. So they meditate an hour a day. By God, I'm going to start meditating an hour a day, and I'll have what they have. That's following a formula, which I've never seen work. Drew?
It reminds me of having been asked over the years by people about how do I meditate. I've tried meditating, but I always do it wrong. I always fail every time I meditate. I started telling them like the only way to fail is not to try. If you're trying, you're doing it. Just trying is a success. Like sobriety, there's no one right way to do sobriety. The only thing you need to do is just try. Just staying sober. You can't stay sober and do it wrong. There are always things that we can do better in our lives to help increase the odds we stay sober. But there's not one right way. And if you don't do it that one right way, then you're doing it wrong.
Sounds like practice to me, Drew. Okay, number 2, to dwell nowhere and rest in nothing is the first step toward resting. Lori?
I was just curious if anyone else finds it a little frustrating to have those instructions. Like, yeah, no, don't do anything. Don't go anywhere. Don't. I totally get it. And yet, you have to start somewhere, right? I don't know. I get it. And I just in this moment, right at this time, I find it annoying. That's the big, wise, wonderful thought or solution from Emperor T. And who is he? Is he in the book before now, or he's just some random guy?
He's not a major recurring character. If,
No.
if he's in it before, it's not like, no, he's, I don't think there's like, we should know who Emperor T is and he has these abilities or this type of personality.
I understand the concept of, and even the longer I've been meditating, the more clear it is, the more practice, as you guys were saying, is required, is awesome. And I also find it, like I said, a little frustrating that can't even give you no place to start. Start where you are. That would be something.
Yeah, welcome to the Chuang Tzu.
And
That's
oh,
what-
by the way, you can use a practice. It may not be good forever, like forever, right? It may be good just for once or 100 times, but there's something you can do something to start being, practice being. We are doing, we are human beings, but we're doing, obviously.
There are a lot of those stories in the Chuang Tzu where you just end up more frustrated than before you started reading the story.
Lori, this is the only time he's mentioned in the entire book, but it's obvious he knows the path. I wouldn't read anything into T other than that he's a source of what knowledge was looking for. For me, I think this is speaking to doing the opposite of what knowledge is trying to attain. It's not that we dwell nowhere or that we do nothing. It's that we allow ourselves to, the seeking is in not adding ourselves to the equation, not adding our goals, adding our formulas, adding our ego. That's the whole problem with the attempt to attain.
Getting out of our own way.
Yes, exactly, Drew. It's not about doing nothing. And the only way I can get past that is by turning the light around, looking within, and starting with what speaks to me. What is it that speaks to me spiritually? We've talked about this before, and that changes with time. There's no formula. Now, in the last few years, I've settled on a time of meditation. That's my daily go-to. That doesn't seem to be changing. If it changes in the future, I think it would probably just change with more time doing that instead of watching a Netflix series. Not that I don't watch Netflix series anymore, but maybe instead of spending 3 hours in the evening watching a Netflix series, I could dock 30 minutes off that and meditate a little more. Maybe one day I'll feel that need to do that. I don't know. But if so, that would seem like the natural progression for me. I don't know if that makes sense, Lori, but that's how I interpret that. It's about dropping self.
So it's interesting. So what I heard was stop seeking. And that for
Yes.
me was the first step, was looking for the perfect way or system. So maybe
Right.
that's where it's not that you can't find some way to express your being, but that you got to stop looking and just sit with what you got right here, right inside here. Yeah.
Start with what speaks to you. Like I've said, for me, at first it was reading the Lord's Prayer, going over my resentment list, because that's what my sponsor, I don't have a list anymore. It's been years, but when I first got in recovery, I had those people I was praying for every day as part of my 12-step work. But once that was done, I went from reading daily reflections to reading transitions daily Then I added some other readings and I added different readings and such. And over the years, the readings became more. And then that moved to a time of meditation and less readings. And my level of readings has gotten much less, but my time of meditation has sometimes increased. And I talked about this recently, but I'll say it again. I had an experience early in meditation, and for a long time, I tried to get that experience again, which is exactly what he's saying not to do. I wanted to recreate what happened. So I eventually quit trying to recreate and just took the day for what it was and,
Yes, just
you know,
listen, pause.
just
Yes.
pause and listen in whatever form that takes for you. Now, I had a sponsee that before I moved that meeting spoke to him spiritually. So I wanted him to be at meetings. That's where he heard God. Okay. Other people go to church, other people listen to podcasts. Everyone does different things. And that's why it's so personal. And what speaks to you is the direction to go. There's not a formula for this. You can't do what some other person does and expect it to work for you. You're doing the formula. It's more of relationship than learning about. Drew?
I hadn't really thought about it, but I've been dealing with this chronic pain flare up for a week since Sunday morning. It's Saturday today. I've tried lots of different things, and really the best solution that I've found is just to, whenever it pops up, just get off my feet and stay horizontal, use ice packs, use heating pad, make sure I drink plenty of water. That's really it. I've tried lots of other stuff, but really just doing very little is what helps. I'm looking at that right now as not doing. I'm not taking action really to help myself get better. I'm getting better by not taking action, by not trying to get better, not willing myself to get better, or not doing this or that, or it's in not doing that I get healed quicker. It's not that I'm not doing anything, but it's really very little. The less I do, the better.
You're not acting on impulse.
Yeah. Then that just that makes things worse.
Isn't it that way with everything?
Yeah.
Very rarely does impulsive action work.
I don't agree with that. It depends on impulsive, how you define impulsive. Because
Doing the
impulsive
first
is
thing that comes to
intuitive.
mind immediately without any thought or any kind
Sometimes,
of sitting
yeah,
with.
that gives me access to my higher power personally talking. I'm not editing. I just have to say, Drew, oh my gosh, I just got done with a huge Epstein-Barr flare. And I know exactly what you're saying. I would want to get a massage and I would want to take some sort of med or I want to do something to fix it. And the only thing I can do is so non-doing, speechless one is being quiet. Being, right? Instead of non-doing, you're being and you're quiet. So that is the solution. I'm not saying that's the solution to everything at all, but for the pain that I was experiencing, you have to wait it out. I have to wait it out and just be kind to myself. And it's such a practice to be my own bestie when I'm in such pain because I want to fix it. And there's nothing I can do to fix it. I just get to be quiet.
And Lori, for me, there's an aspect of not doing in everything, in that I am not being taken off by my fears and my emotions of, I got to fix this. All of that. Is what, for me, what I see is that idea of let's act on impulse. You have an impulse, you act on it. Me taking that pause for just a second is never a mistake. Ever has that been a mistake for me. Sometimes my first thought's right, but I pause with it first, run through, instead of just, oh, that's what I need to do. Bam, I'm there. No, I've learned not to do that. I think that's a way that we can take that act on impulse out. Deep breath, pause, I sit for just a second really and say, I'm powerless over this. I have a thought, but is that really what I need to do? I may call someone and run it by them real quick. Sometimes the pause is enough and I feel at peace about it and I move forward. There always to be at least a momentary pause where I'm seeking side of myself.
Pause is the
Yeah.
portal, always. I get that.
Brian?
I was going to say, sometimes we get that clarity, then we realize it's been okay all along. You're sitting there going, damn it, what's wrong with me?
It's interesting how they rest in nothing's the first step toward rest. It's like a muscle, I think, that we're learning how to rest. 3, to start from nowhere and follow no road is the first step toward attaining Tao. I see that as me approaching situations from a place of powerlessness. Just because I have experience with something does not mean that I know the right answer. I have to bring that attitude of not knowing into everything, that idea of openness to others' opinions. Y'all have heard me talk about doing these iron butt rallies. You had all these points, and whoever get the most points and be there at the end, that was the goal. I would do a route and said, there's not a better route than the one I have. There's no way. So I'd set that route aside and I'd do a second route leaving in the opposite direction. 9 times out of 10, the second route was better than the first one. Thinking I've got this figured out. I learned that just because I think I have the right answer, even research and all the things I know, does not mean I have the right answer just because I think I do. So that was one thing that started helping me to be more open-minded, which is a huge factor in approaching things from a place of powerlessness. Because the only way that I was able to start staying sober was by approaching it from a place of powerlessness. And that's the start from nowhere and follow no road. In other words, I'm not trying to attain. I set as much as I can my personal interests aside. And that's the first step to really attaining Tao. Knowledge replied, you know this and I know this. Now knowledge knows. But the other two, they did not know it. What about that? Who's right? So now knowledge is challenging what he says he knows. He replied, only non-doing, the speechless one, was perfectly right. Says he did not know. So he's saying non-doing did not know. I see that as, like I've said, not knowing from his own intellect, me not knowing, not thinking I have it figured out. I'm going to fix this. I act on impulse. The inspired prophet only seemed right because he had forgotten. As for us, we come nowhere near being right since we have the answers. And then he quotes a Tao, for he who knows does not speak, and he who speaks does not know. And the wise man gives instruction without the use of speech. The story got back to Act on Impulse, who agreed with T's way of putting it. It is not reported that non-doing ever heard the matter or made any comment. Why do you think the one who knows does not speak? He just does. It's not the speaking that's the solution, it's the experience of doing. I say, doing in a not doing way. It's like Uwe, effortless effort. It is effort, but from a place of selflessness. I think it's the same thing.
What do you think the very last sentence means? It's not reported that non-doing ever heard of the matter or made any comment. I'm confused by that.
But non-doing knew that there was nothing to be said.
Yep, I agree with that.
And he didn't need to know anything because he already had it, or he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't do anything because there's nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
It's already done. There's nothing to do.
Damn Dr. Seuss book.
I looked at it as non-doing, the things that happened outside of non-doing's immediate situation didn't concern him at all. What these two people had a conversation about, it didn't get back to him. He didn't care about it. He just let it go.
This is a story from a book that I'm reading called instant Zen, waking up in the present translated by Thomas Cleary. It's by a Zen teacher from the name Foyan, Foyan. He was 1067 to 1120. One of his stories was titled Not Knowing. Sometimes when I question students, they all say they do not know or understand. They just say they eat when hungry and sleep when tired. What redemption is there in such talk? You even say you're not cognizant of whether the month is long or short, and you do not care whether it's a leap year. Who understands this affair of yours? Now I ask you, how do you explain the logic of not knowing? You hear others say this, so you say it yourselves. But have you ever understood that principle of not knowing? An ancient said, not knowing means nothing is not known, nowhere not reached. This is called unknowing, so that you people today may reach that unknown state. This is the realm of the sages. How could it be like the blindness and non-understanding that people today call not knowing? If you go on like this, always declaring you don't know and are not concerned, how will you communicate if someone questions you? There might be no one to continue on the road of Zen. It won't do to be like this. Make your choice carefully. And I think what not knowing is that there's nothing that's unknown. Everything's known. So there's nothing for you to seek. Not doing is a reflection of that, Kate. And what I can see in this, not doing speaks to what his actions would be, too. There's no actions for him to take, impulsive or otherwise. And it really is a state of knowing that there's nothing unknown, that there's nothing for me to seek.
For some reason, I was thinking about you go in the bookstore and they got this huge section that's self-help. And they've got every freaking kind of book that these people are selling. They're going to tell you how to fix the problem that I got in my head or in my soul. Somebody ought to write one that just says, hey, you're okay as you are.
That's what we come to realize.
I wonder if that would sell. Probably not. Nobody probably want it.
Hey, you're already fixed.
You're already fixed.
Maybe one big page.
Just one big page. Yeah, one big piece of paper.
I'd buy it.
I would too.
Or just like 500 pages with you're already fixed. Just like one affirmation.
There's nothing
on each
broken.
page.
Nothing's
There's
broken. Nothing broken. Nothing's broken. Nothing's broken. That's
It's-
anathema.
Every book that we read, almost every one of the Zen books says, there's nothing you attain. There's no books for you to read, but yet we're reading the book for him telling us there's no book to read. I think what we're looking at instead, Brian, of someone giving us the magic formula, and this story speaks to this, we're listening to their experience and what they're writing instead. That's different. Just like we read the big book. We don't read, or I don't read the big book for the formula. The big book is how they did it. I think that's how we should read everything, is what experience can we glean from this book, which is different from looking for the formula.
It's like having a sponsee. When I came into the program, I thought that I needed to have an answer. Sometimes that answer can be, man, I don't know. Or it can be, I had a similar situation happen and this is what worked for me.
Not, here's the formula. Do this and you'll be better.
Go buy this book.
Start meditating 45 minutes a day. That'll fix that. No, that's not.
I'm good to make comments like that. Sometimes I believe it. Sometimes I say things and I'm like, shit, I need to say this to myself.
That happens very often for me, Brian. I get more from my sponsees than any meeting with my sponsor for that reason.
There are
That's
so
nothing.
many books out there that say exactly that kind of thing, though. Get up, meditate for 30 minutes, do this, drink water, blah, 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 blah. There's so many books like that.
I think it's brilliant that AA has put down for meetings open, honest, and willing, and listening. When you share, you're not telling anybody what to do. You're sharing your experience, your strength, your hope, you're not prescribing or asking someone to conform. I'm almost done with book 2, buddy. And that's all the book is, my experience, strength, and hope, with all these different weird ideas and concepts and experiences. That's it. That's all I've got. I've got nothing else, honestly, that somebody can't read in a book somewhere else or hear from some expert. Right. It's scary, isn't it? I think nobody would buy that book, Brian, because what would you do then? If nothing was broken, what would we do all day, every day?
Still have my tasks to do, still have things going on. Can I do them from a place of presence rather than a place of active fixing? And the only reason I can do things from a place of presence is when Buddy is not doing, because that is Buddy doing, is fixing, taking responsibility for. Work harder, do better. Wore my do better out, right?
I've told some sponsees before that if I do figure out the solution, I'm going to make a promise to you that you will be the first to know. When I figure this out, I'm going to call you first.
Or maybe you could say, hey, when I figure this out, I'll make sure and not tell you. Because there is no figuring this out.
That's it.
If I say I figured it out, I'm wrong.
Yeah, you need to fire me.
Yes. Anything else, guys, before we close? It's been a good conversation today. Thank you. If not, you guys have a great week and hope to see you next week. Thank you.
Hello, this is Buddy C. I wanted to make you aware of several recovery-related resources that I've posted in the episode description. These resources include a list of recovery podcasts, a free sober meditation app, daily recovery email, shared Google recovery calendars. Hope you put some of these resources to use and have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Tao of Our Understanding Recovery Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends in recovery.